Welcome in to another episode of Hockey Royalty Live, the official podcast of hockeyroyalty.com. Today is episode 211. Well, we're backing up the Brinks truck, baby. And we're talking about that new Kempe extension, some possible spicy line combinations. How's the Pacific look after 20 games? And who are your LA Kings? Where are the positives, the negatives, and is this team really going to make a push towards the playoffs? So get in the chat, like and subscribe. You know what to do. Let's go. As Hockey Royalty rolls on, I think that we have to probably keep Kopitar on the intro video forever. Tim and King's legacy. But as we wipe away the depressing tears, we're here to talk about LA Kings positivity with the Adrian Kempe contract. And I know we're excited to talk about this, but I missed my boys last week, so I gotta catch up with them. Russ, Joe, how you guys doing?
Doing good, Brandon. Yeah, we're happy to have you back. It's always a question mark as far as how the hosting goes when you're gone. It's not as easy as you make it out to be. I'll give you that. So it's funny because before Joe and I started for the last show, I was like talking to him. I was like thinking in my head, like, okay, what does Randon say to get the show started? And I'm just trying to recite it. So I think we did an okay job, but you're top notch, of course. So it wouldn't be
your flattery is too kind
without our number one host here.
Yeah, I thought you did, Russ. You did a good job, Russ. You did a good job. Thanks. But it is, no offense, it is good to have Brandon back. I'm doing all right. We picked the team tonight, so year 16 for behind the bench at Hilton over here in Western New York. So we're ready to rock. And first we get started. We have. The season turns pretty quick. We play 2 games Friday, Saturday next weekend. So there's really not a whole lot of time. We got like less than a week of practice and then off we go. So yeah, so it's exciting. We're about to be knee deep in hockey season officially. So pretty fired up about that. It's exciting time. So Brandon, how you doing?
Are you on the hot seat like Jim Hiller is, except for with high school parents?
Probably. Well, here's the thing. That's the nice thing about being the assistant coach, okay? You don't have to deal with nearly as much as the head coach. But, yeah.
Power play stinks. Get Joe out of there.
Trust me. When the power play stinks, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing
you're a Noah Brown is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Man. I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing my second long fast, so I'm on day 4 of fasting, trying to get down the LBs for my brother's wedding. So, that's always fun to starve yourself. It's getting pretty easy now, just used to it, but still you miss food, foods are great. So, excited that I got off work early today and I was like, oh man, I'm going to go reward myself with, a nice little meal or whatever. And nope. Go home and suck down some more water. But here we are, and I'm ready to talk some Kings hockey. It's been interesting over the road trip. Hell of a road trip to start. We obviously end up in San Jose, and see how that's going to go. The Sharks a lot better than expected, but we'll get to those games going forward. But going back and kind of backtracking, the road trip was a good one. Got a couple points there. But something else happened on the road trip, something that, now makes my panic meter an absolute 0, is we're backing up that Brinks truck, man. We're dropping some cash off at the Swedish doorstep, and Adrian Kempe is getting paid. 8 years, was it 10.65 million? 625 or something like that, million. So the Golden Boy is signed. He's here to stay. So I think a round of applause for that. In Holland. Thank you for getting that done and not scaring the bejesus out of us for the entire season. What do you guys think about the contract itself? I know the number came in less than what maybe we anticipated, so seems like a win, right, boys?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ken Holland, hats off to him, did a great job. The panic meter is definitely back out to zero or back down to zero. So that was good. It was creeping up there a little bit. So I wouldn't say it was getting really scary, but you started to think about, I was like thinking about like, remember like all the Gavrikov talk where he'd be saying all the right things.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Blake was saying all the right things. And you're just thinking like, oh, this is going to happen eventually, just a matter of time. And then he leaves. So that was kind of always in the back of my mind, like with Kempe. It's like, oh yeah, you can say the right things. Holland can say the right things, but we just kind of went through this. So, but I mean, it was never really to the point where I actually thought he was going to leave. I mean, so yeah, I think it's a huge win for the franchise. If he wasn't re-signed, we're talking rebuild in the summer at that point. Because when you lose a superstar like Kempe, we all know what his impact is to this franchise and this team, and especially what his impact will be moving forward. He's the best player, if not one of the best players, if not the best player on the team. So the Kings needed to re-sign him, and I think as far as the actual deal goes, I think it's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I thought if they came in anything under 11, I think that's a good job for the Kings. But being that close to 11, I mean, that's a win-win, I think, for both sides. And yeah, like there is no path forward without Kempe. Like there's no way to replace him. Obviously, we see the free agent market next year is dwindled to virtually nothing at this point. So you can't. There's no way a team like the Kings can afford to lose Kempe. So this was a no-brainer. They had to get it done. They got it done, and so that's the most important thing. And as a fan, you got to be fired up that he's locked in long term, and appears that he'll be a career King. You never know what the future holds, and there's some trade protection later on. But no, I like this is huge. This is a must sign for the Kings. And you know, Randon, like you've been a Kempe guy before it was cool to be a Kempe guy. So you got to be really, really excited about this, especially because he's turned into a hell of a player.
Yeah, I mean, Russ said it. I think he's the best player on the team. I think he's probably a top 10 winger in the league. And and for me, it's like, yeah, he's not a point per game player right now on the Kings, but he's point per game in the playoffs. And I fully believe that if he played on a line with McDavid or McKinnon or one of those up-tempo teams, he would be a 90 to 100 point player with great defensive acumen. So, you know, he's stuck in a system that hasn't been conducive to him scoring, but he's always been consistent, even in all four of the losses, or it's too many now to count, to Edmonton, but he's the only one that shows up consistently. And so like it's well-deserved. A lot of people were asking him to be shipped off, and he kept working and he found his place. I also, you know, he's very humble and with the way he speaks or doesn't speak. You know, he's well liked amongst the fans, and he's going to be here for a long time. And I think it works for the player, you know, with the 10.625, and it works for the Kings in two facets. And so with the 8 years, you would assume the Kings want to, at worst, retool next season with the loss of Kopitar, try to figure out a way to get another center in here and kind of build that in the offseason. But if they have to make a change and it doesn't work out and things go south, that no movement clause turns into a modified no trade clause, where it might be easier to get Kempe out of here in his 30-something year old seasons when he wants to maybe compete for a cup. And so it kind of gives the flexibility to both the organization and gives him the money that he's deserving at this point. Cap goes up. I believe we have over 20 mil next year. So the Kings could make some trades. They got some goalie prospects. They got Greentree. They have a first round pick. So a lot of people want to go out and get Tage Thompson and all that kind of stuff like that. And I would be happy with that. I just think this contract gives the Kings a lot of freedom. If they need to keep Kempe, it'll be a good number for a guy that'll be on the top line for the next 4 or 5 years. If they need to move him, if a the contract will be attractive, and it has a modified no trade clause to where at least they'll have some outs on where to move him and those types of things if he wants to chase a cup and the fortune of the Kings turns south in the next few years. So I think it's kind of a contract that fits everybody, and I really imagine that Kempe's excited to stay in the place that he's always known, and keep his family there and keep his life there. I know he goes back to Sweden every once in a while, but LA is his home, and a lot of people like to have that continuity within their lives.
Yeah, it definitely makes you appreciate Kempe even more as a Kings fan, because I mean, all this talk over the last few seasons has been like, why don't stars want to come sign in LA? And maybe that can be put to bed a little bit with Kempe. I know it's a little bit different, I guess, with him being a homegrown player, being drafted in LA and always been here for his entire career, but he still has to sign here. And there's been free agents that have left over the last few years too that didn't want to re-sign here. But for Kempe, he did. And not for nothing. I mean, it seems like 8-year deals were just kind of being thrown out like candy all through these last few months or so to these big name free agents. But he could have gone short term. He could have gone 3 or 4 year deal and just say, let's see what happens after that and go from there. But no, he was willing to sign 8 years. He was willing to sign at a cap hit that a lot of us, and I'm sure majority of Kings fans, would feel like it's a lesser cap hit than what we expected. I mean, I was willing to go all the way up close to 12. I mean, just considering the impact that he is to this franchise and how desperately they needed to keep him. So the fact that he was willing to stick around for 8 years and under $11 million, it really makes you feel grateful to see that number 9 stick around in LA.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how this could go a couple of different ways, and you never know what is in the player's head. From a hockey standpoint, where he envisions this team now and in the future versus family life, right? I mean, he's building family at home in LA. This is homegrown for him in terms of where he was drafted. So it seems to make a lot of sense that he feels very comfortable and loves playing in Los Angeles and loves living in the area. So that seems to make a lot of sense. Who knows what his, deciding factor was, but presumably, a stable kind of setup for him and his family seems to be priority, which is obviously that's great. And it's great for the Kings because now he gets to stick around for another 8 years. So you can't be any more happy for as a Kings fan than to have Kempe here, because he's been awesome. And I echo the sentiments that if he's not the best player, he's right there on this team. So crucial piece to this team going forward.
And, I mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, and I want to give extra stick taps to Ken Holland. Like, this could have been drug out. The Kings could have dug their heels in and, reported. Everything's reported, but, they were at 9. Kempe wanted to be north of 10, and they were kind of going there. And then all these other contracts kept pushing Kempe up. And for the reported asking price of Kempe to be $10 million, and they sign him at 10.6 with all these other contracts being signed, I think that's a win. The fact that it didn't drag on into 2026 is a win. And so, I think, a lot of people are probably like, oh, it's 8-year deal. He'll be 37 when this thing ends. It's like, okay, yeah, but you're getting you have to pay for the best players now. Almost a lot of those contracts, like, okay, I'll figure that out when he's 37 at 11 mil or do whatever, but you have to win now. Like, the team, would it be smart to rebuild now? How do you explain that to fans? Like, after signing Cody Ceci and Dumoulin and all these guys, like, okay, we think we're going to win the cup, and then we're going to trade away our best player, and Kopitar is going to leave. And we talked about that doom gloom scenario 2 podcasts ago of the possibilities there. Like, how do you pass that off at fans? You'd almost have to go to New York Rangers and write each fan a letter and say, hey, we're going to suck for a long time. Like, I feel like they wrapped up their best player. Yeah, 8 years is a long time for a 29-year-old, but he is the best player. I think his game will age relatively well. Like, he doesn't he's not like a guy that throws the body around a whole hell of a lot. He is scrappy. But I think he keeps his body in good shape and does that. And and where he's at 36, 37, 8 years down the line, Randon can complain about that at that time.
Yeah, just pay your best players. Like at the end of the day, just pay your top guys. Don't screw around, and it's done. And the good thing is we don't got to talk about it anymore. We don't got to worry about it anymore. So I'm just excited that it's done.
Well, he gets paid as the first line winger and he stays up there, but he gets joined by two other guys in the upcoming games. We've seen little hints of it. We've seen some foreshadowing, some teasers, some trailers. But Byfield, Kempe, and Fiala are going to play together to start the game in San Jose tomorrow night. Ken Holland with stick taps, and now Hiller gets some stick taps because what is going on here? This is the line that we've been wanting to see all year. I think it's the best combination of players. Don't necessarily think Byfield's better than Kopitar, but I think the speed of Byfield moves this line better with Kempe and Fiala. So you're going to have three burners who all are able to facilitate, all able to shoot. I think this line is going to be devastating to the opponents. I'm excited to watch it. We finally get to see it, boys. Joe, what do you think about the unveiling of this line tomorrow night?
It's exactly what we've been talking about for a year now. Just about is this team. Yeah, every other team. It's funny. Russ always talks about, and I was watching the Oilers game earlier, and it was still 5-4, and the Oilers had a shift with McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman and Ekholm and Wallman, or Bouchard and Wallman, excuse me. And it was like Washington couldn't touch the puck for like a solid minute and a half. And I thought about what Russ always says, like at the end of the day, their five best players are just better than everybody else's five best players. And like at some point you have to have something to match another team's top line. And the Kings have just gone out of their way to talk about balance and depth and top nine. And it's just exhausting, and it doesn't matter. Like every team has a legit top line, or worst top six. And the Kings prance out this kind of top nine and the depth and this. And clearly it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. You can't beat the top teams. So hopefully this works, and it gives these guys an opportunity to be threatening, because the Kings aren't really threatening right now. They're not scoring much, as we know, and they're not creating a ton of chances. So it would be really good for and Kempe too. Like he's going to a line where, Byfield's been really good this year in terms of setting players up and being a chance creator. And, Kopitar has not been. He really hasn't been a leader, like in the shot assists and chance assists that I track. Kopitar's not near the top of those right now. So getting a guy like creative guys like Byfield and Fiala around your team's best goal scorer, pure goal scorer, I'm here for that. You see how that works and how it all fits together, and then you see how the rest of the lineup shakes out. But I think that they needed to do something like this, because the depth thing that wasn't going to work, and it won't because it's not deep enough. Like it's not good enough, the depth. So you need to have some star power here, and this line gives them a legit shot at that.
As you're looking as it scrolls across the bottom, the ticker, you have Kempe, Fiala, and Byfield as our top point getters. Why not put them all together, Russ?
Absolutely, right? I mean, now the Kings have a legitimate top line that they can roll out. This is going to be the top line now. This is going to be the top line for the future. So it was really just a matter of time. And I know Hiller's kind of mentioned it earlier in the season, where he said it's something we've been thinking about. We've seen it multiple times for whatever reason, but now they're actually going to stick to it, hopefully throughout the entire game. And hopefully Hiller doesn't tinker around with it throughout the game, because I feel like he's been doing that at times a little bit too much. I think there's been a lack of chemistry in some of these lines because of that happening, and because of the changing in game that he's been making. It's funny. I don't know if it was McClellan that said it, but there was maybe it was Hiller too, but there's going back to when Trevor Moore was being moved up and down the line, and they're thinking oh, maybe we're moving him around too much. And it's like, okay, well, you're doing that now to the entire forward lineup. And maybe that's one of the reasons why you're not generating enough offense. So I think this is a line, and not for nothing. Like, I think what this does, not only for that top line with Fiala, Byfield, and Kempe, I think the rest of the forward lineup, this might be one of the best forward lineups I think the Kings can have iced this season. I mean, you look at what the rest of it with Zach Dooley reporting today from practice. Now you have Kuzmenko with Kopitar and Trevor Moore. I love that because I really feel like they needed to get Trevor Moore away from Phil Deneau. Deneau hasn't really been doing anything offensively, and Trevor Moore is too good of an offensive player to be playing with a player like that. So I think they've been really limiting Trevor Moore's offensive capabilities by playing him with Deneau. Hopefully, I know Joe mentioned that Kopitar isn't really the chance creator that maybe he's been in the past, but I think
Deneau is non-existent.
Yeah, exactly. I think he can still be a better chance creator than Phil Deneau. So, especially with Kuzmenko too. So, I think those three will be good together. The third line now is going to be Fogle, Deneau, and Laferriere. I feel like you don't really have to worry about trying to find offense from them. I think they can be like your legitimate like shutdown line if you want to put him out there for that. Laferriere has always been like a responsible player to the point where now Hiller's playing him in those high pressure minutes late in games. So you can throw those guys out to be the shutdown line against the top units. And now you have the fourth line that we've been really wanting to see since the start of the season in Armia, Turcotte, and Perry. So now I think if you have those four lines, that's something that you can now legitimately roll all four lines, hopefully throughout the entire game, and where you get those lines each have their own identity where they can start to find some offensive production.
I just like that it slots players appropriately, and this is basically saying what you said, just in a different way. Like, your top players, your top six players are in top six roles.
Yeah.
Your bottom six players are in bottom six roles. And too often on the Kings, because they're so obsessed with like the depth and the balance, we'll see Joel Armia up on the top line. We've seen Warren Fogle up on the top line in the past. Laferriere has spent a lot of time in the top six. And I think of the bunch, Laferriere is like still in that, he's on that fringe middle six. Like, can he be consistent top six? Where does he fit? I think either way, he fits probably right where he is. Fogle is a third line winger, right? Let's have him there. Deneau at this point is a third line center. Armia has been a fourth line winger. This is all okay. Like, none of this is a problem. These are slotting guys where they belong. And I think that's important. I think if you have guys that are playing kind of in roles that maybe they shouldn't, it's not a surprise when you're not generating a whole lot. Trevor Moore, the guy, he is a much more natural shooter with a quick release than say a Laferriere, for example. So when I'm looking in a top six role, like, I think the guy can score. He's scored 30 in this league before. And, we talked about how Kopitar hasn't been quite the chance creator that maybe he has been in the past. Kuzmenko's been a pretty good distributor so far this season. I've got him among the leader in shot assists. So, hey, and Kopitar to that end is getting himself into scoring chance opportunities. But now with Trevor Moore, the way he works, he's a little bit of a different, similar-ish to a campaign, the way he's kind of quick. He's good off the rush, but he's also good, wins battles in the corner, can make plays out of the corner and coming off the wall. So I like Trevor Moore we've never seen Trevor Moore with Kopitar for any sort of extended look for whatever reason over the years. Despite Moore being a pretty good shooter with a good release and, Kopitar generally being a pretty good playmaker. So I'm excited. I like it. We'll see. You mentioned Hiller likes to tinker sometimes, so we'll see how long this lasts for. I'll be honest. I don't have a problem with him tinkering lately because he's looking for offense. No, now I guess, it's like the meme where like the guy shoots him and he's like, who did this? The reason you don't have you play a style that isn't exactly conducive to offense, so you can shuffle the deck chairs all you want, but at the end of the day, if you are where you are and you have what you have, it is what it is. But so I get it though when you're trying to shuffle some things around to find the offense, and this seems to be the most obvious attempt right now. We've all been calling for this. Maybe it won't work, right? like, let's see a couple games here, especially one of them, the second game on Friday here, because they got back-to-back. So Thursday in San Jose, Friday against Boston is at home. We'll see if it works, you know.
Can we get a full month of the top line?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, to
I
really
don't know
see
if we'll
something?
get, I mean, it depends, I think. Like, if they go a couple games and they just don't look right, we ain't getting a month. Like, I think, because, you know, what did we see? A handful of games with Fiala and Kopitar early when Fiala first got here? Like, so we'll see, Randon. I mean, yeah, you'd like to give a line of stretch to let's see how they mesh together. You know, and it's not like they haven't played together before. So hopefully there's some enough familiarity there where they can start buzzing right off the hop, and then yeah, go from there. And we'll see what happens.
Javier Matt coming here with our first super chat of the night. $2 holler. Dano is AHL material at this point. A lot of people on Twitter have been upset with him. You know, his career average is roughly 14-ish goals per year, which breaks down about 3 or 4 goals is what he should have right now. He's got 0. For some reason, he's on power play 2 every single game and has maybe like 5 goals in his entire power play career. So fans are itching for offense like I think everybody else is. I wouldn't say he's quite AHL material at this point, but I'm going to kind of turn this into a question for you guys because I've been getting this a lot on Twitter. Is Dano trade bait? For us to upgrade at 3C, is he trade bait to where maybe the LA Kings absorb a little bit of that contract and get something in return? How do you guys kind of view him, or do they need a shutdown defenseman or shutdown center, you know, on the third line?
I feel like he's definitely trade bait. I mean, at least in terms of, like, you could always find players probably better in terms of maybe making an upgrade. So I get it from that standpoint. Not to say, like, I mean, Phil Danault is like Joe said, he's a true 3C at this point. He's not going to be a player that we're going to be looking at to be this offensive producer to score 20 plus goals. We got kind of gifted with that in his first season. We haven't really seen that since. So I think he's kind of settled into the player he is. He's just this defensive shutdown guy who's maybe going to pot a couple or help out at times offensively, but we really haven't seen that. So yeah, in my opinion, if the Kings can go out and try to upgrade at that spot, then I'm all for it. Because I mean, at this point, there's even been some certain defensive lapses that Danault's made that have kind of questioned me a little bit. So I'm not saying like go out and just like cut him or just ship him out for whatever. But if you can find an upgrade, or even just like maybe you give him an even switch, like I think I mentioned to you guys the other day, like I wonder with Toronto kind of floundering a little bit if they'd be fine doing like a Danault for Nick Waugh trade, which they seem like very similar players. But hey, maybe things get switched. They get their different situation. They start to pop off a little bit. So I think that kind of move would be good. I know a lot of people are mentioning like a Ryan O'Reilly, which I get. I love Ryan O'Reilly, but it's just I just don't see the Kings trying to part ways with Danault. I feel like that's a player that they're really happy with, and they really can. Although actually, the way I look at his ice time, though, it seems like Hiller's not really too happy with the way he's been playing. So it'll be interesting to see what at least Ken Holland thinks about him moving forward here.
This is tricky because I don't know if you're trading him. Like, what are you trading him for? I don't know that I can see Toronto in the deal that you mentioned, Russ. That's a unique one where I can see them leaning into the veteran thing. You know,
that's what I was kind of going for. Yeah, right. Like with everything they're going with.
Yeah, but I also don't know that Nick Waugh is a definitive upgrade to Danault. I think they're pretty similar. So, I what is I don't know what like. I just don't know what your trade is. I mean, I can see Danault being attractive to a contender as like a depth as a third line center on a cup team. The Kings aren't selling, right? So that trade's not happening. So I guess I just don't know if Danault this is not my opinion, but if Danault to like fans' opinion, you know, is a bad player and he stinks, and well, then why do you think he holds value to other teams? If he doesn't hold value to you, I'm fine with Danault. Like, I'm not happy that like the production needs to get a little bit better, but let's be honest. Like, I think it's pretty crazy that if you look up and down, you've got 3 LA centers without a goal, and even Byfield himself has 1 at 5-on-5. Like it is crazy the lack of production that the Kings are seeing from some of their key players, i.e., their centers, and that seems a bit fluky. So I think we're going to see some goals go in right at some point. But I'm okay with Danault in the right role with the right line mates and the right scenario, and I think a definitive 3C behind these guys, behind Byfield and Kopitar. I don't want to see, Kuzmenko or Fiala, those guys on his line. This is what I want to see, Fogle and Laferriere. I think this is a good opportunity. And, maybe, sometimes we talk about like a shutdown line. Well, he ain't shutting down Connor McDavid. And let's just get to, he's probably not shutting down McDavid. He's probably not shutting down Draisaitl. He's probably not shutting down Jack Eichel. So, if he's not maybe just have him. But it's time for Byfield to handle those minutes, right? Let's fight fire with fire. Put the Byfield lining. Let the big dogs go against the big dogs. That's what a lot of teams do. But I do think Danault's line can be a mismatch for another team's second or third line, right? I think that's a possibility. So let them go to work on on another team's third line, rather than have him lean on these matchups that maybe at this point maybe he just isn't able to handle them. I don't know. But I'm still okay with the player. I totally get the frustration around the production, but I also think we need to reset our expectations. He's been 2C in LA since he's got here, and he's not that anymore. So you don't need to expect, I get it. The production that he's at now isn't good enough, but you don't need to expect that much production because he's the third line center right now. I don't think, as Randon mentioned, he should be on the second power play. I think there's definitely other options there, particularly at center with Turcotte. So, I think there's moves that can be made, but I still think he's a valuable 5-on-5 player in the right role. And I still think he's, a good guy to have on the penalty kill. And he's a good face-off guy. So in key spots or whatever, that's a good guy to have late in games, defensive zone face-offs, things like that. So, I'm one of the few still in Danault's corner, just because, I don't think he's been as bad as his lack of production makes it seem like he is. But I hear the frustration.
I think where he might fit in, and you say where the upgrade is if the upgrade is for another center that is potentially a future buy as well. A lot of people are saying Tage Thompson, but at that point you're moving out Danault for the salary. Maybe not be that Buffalo or whoever wants him. So it would be Danault's leaving plus prospects, right, and another young player to get a Tage Thompson, to get a center for this year in the future. I don't really think there's a hockey trade, like you said, Joe, for that type of thing. It might be, Danault says he loves it here. So, but who knows? Maybe it is what Russ says, and they just need a change of scenery. And then that team gets the best out of Danault and we get the best out of that player, and they kind of switch it up. But I have a feeling that they're, in love with Danault. Will Turcotte eventually be 3C by the end of the season? Probably not. Is that something maybe next year that could happen? Maybe. But yeah, he needs to be better. Can he be part of a trade because that $5.5 million? Yes, he can. He can definitely be that money that kind of goes the other way to make a big trade if that's what they need to do. But hopefully it gets turned around, and careers change. Like you said, he's not going to be the shutdown line where he's taking away the team's best player, but he can be effective on the third line, and that team can push the pace. To be honest with you, if that line doesn't lose momentum and they can flip it back to the first line and continue going on, I think that's still valuable for an organization. Can we say
because Danault, and I'm not he was for years really a really, really good 200-foot play driving center, not a high significant offensive producer, but he was a really good 5-on-5 two-way center, not the fastest guy necessarily, but just really good at both ends of the ice. And we've seen his game here take a dip a bit. And I just think, man, how good has Anze Kopitar been to do what he's done for so freaking long at such a consistent level? it puts it into perspective. And again, that's not to say that like Deneau is necessarily at that class, but like they're similar enough style of players, I think, and like the two-way center. And you see where his game's at right now compared to where Kopitar's is still today. Like it's remarkable what Kopitar's been able to do for so long from a consistency standpoint. So, I just wanted to mention that. But I don't know. I think the Kings need to know. Like the Kings are going to need to know because they don't have the depth at center. I don't think you're finding a center in the trade unless they're able to somehow pull off some fantasy sports stuff and trade Deneau and then bring in Kadri or something crazy. But I'm not expecting that. So they need to know to elevate his game a little bit. Because right now there's not enough behind him. Like I'm a Turcotte guy, but let's not get crazy here. Has he ever played a full season? Right? There's a Turcotte injury around the corner. I mean, I hope not, but it is what it is. Like he's missed time every year, and that's a bigger problem for the Kings because that fourth line is playable in large part because I think of how good he's been. Obviously, Perry's been awesome, but like Turcotte's been great. They don't have another fourth line center. Right, so they've got to. I don't see the scenario where Deneau gets dealt and they're actually better, if that makes sense.
Well, the only way you're dealing is if you're dealing with DraftKings here as our official sponsor for THPN. The NBA season tips off, and so does DraftKings' newest fantasy game. DraftKings Pick 6 is the easiest way to play for big wins, with every possession giving you a shot at real money. Here's how you play. Pick more or less on 2 or more stats and unlock the upside at every game Brinks. Pick 6 is available in Texas, California, Missouri, and more. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus bets with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. Don't just watch basketball, cash in. Download DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use code THPN. That's code THPN. Play just $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 bonus bets. Make the call. Ride the upside in the partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus bets that expire 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Well, we're kicking it over to the next segment here with Coast to Coast, where we're going to be talking about the Pacific. It's a lawless wasteland out there, and we're going to break it down with the unconventional standings as they are now. So let's bring us back in here, guys. I think everybody had the top team in the division being Anaheim. I don't know about you guys, but I saw that like a crystal ball.
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way. I mean, the way they've been playing, they're winning right now too over Boston. They're playing free. They have a lot of young talent that they're letting the talent kind of flourish and play that the way to really, I guess, establish that skill set for them and utilize the skills that they have. So there's no limitation to the players that they have. So as Ducks fans, you got to be happy watching that, right? I mean, you got players like Leo Carlson who kind of is turning the tide. He looks like a superstar in this league. Owen Zellweger, he looks incredible on the back end. And you're getting some really good play from the veterans that they brought in Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider. So they've been a real fun team to watch. I'm not having a lot of fun as a Kings fan watching it, but it is what it is. So it seems like they're starting to really take the next step. We'll see if this can continue on. But the way that the rest of the Pacific Division is looking right now, Edmonton, for whatever reason, they always have these slow starts, and I don't want to buy into it, but it really seems like they're really missing those players like those Corey Perry, Evander Kane type players for that bite to the lineup. I mean, they brought in Trent Frederick, and he has 1 goal in 21 games. And I know there's been a lot of injuries. Zach Hyman just came back. Nugent Hopkins is out right now. So there's been a lot of hit to their depth. I'm just waiting for like some big trade to happen because it'll happen. They have the money to do it. It seems like with McDavid taking a pay cut. So that'll happen eventually. The Sharks, I think they're just having a lot of fun and just seeing where things go at this point. So it'll be a fun game to watch tomorrow. I know the Sharks kind of dominated the Kings, and the Kings were able to squeak out a win. So that'll be an interesting game. And the rest of the Pacific Division, I mean, as far as the Golden Knights, I think they're just still kind of figuring out. They'll be at the top or near the top at the end of the season. I don't think that would be a surprise. And the Canucks are just the Canucks at this point. I mean, who knows, really? I don't think they're going to end up winning anything. Joe's shaking his head. And the Flames, I think are just in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. So, yeah, it kind of seems like I would say there's 4 legitimate teams that are vying for the top 3 spots in Vegas, Edmonton, LA, and Anaheim. And we'll see how it all shakes out here.
You know, it'd be crazy is if LA won the division and then they played Edmonton as a wild card.
Yeah. I actually kind of think this is shaping up to be very much the same standings as last year. I mean, I love what Anaheim's doing. I think Leo Carlson, when Anze Kopitar retires, Leo Carlson will be my favorite player. I mean, I love this kid coming out of the draft. I'm such a fan of his. He's really, really exciting. So, yeah, I don't know that Anaheim – I don't know if they're going to end up making playoffs or not. But this is obviously a big step for them. They've got an exciting young D-core. There's a lot to be excited about in Anaheim. I think that team is on a really positive trajectory. I think Vegas is going to win.
But I want to ask you guys a question. Like, can it be understated the impact of a great coach? I mean, as much as dark cloud as Joe Quenneville has had over his career, like he is a great coach, multiple Stanley Cup winner. Like the impact that he's brought to that organization can't be understated enough.
Yeah, clearly. And obviously there have been talks about how the relationship with Cronin wasn't working with the Ducks players and Cronin. That just wasn't working. So whether it's more Quenneville versus they just need to get rid of Cronin, we'll never know that. But yeah, you have to give credit right now to Quenneville, what he's doing. Absolutely. What he's been able to do, and probably just a lot of it is, instilling like a level of belief, and you get some wins early. That certainly helps, because I think, if you come out of the gate slow, you start like 2-6 or whatever, like it's like, oh, here we go again. But they're starting off with some wins, so that helps them. That's a team that's not going anywhere. That's for sure. Like I said, they're on the up. I think Vegas, I know they've got some stuff going on with some injuries, shocker, and some goaltending situations, but I think that team probably rises to the top of the division. I'll be honest, I don't buy the Edmonton misses Perry and Kane. Sorry. I think Edmonton misses Paul Coffey is what I think, because I think their defense has been atrocious, which I did not see coming. I thought that was arguably one of the top D-cores in the NHL, and they look a shell of themselves. They look nothing like they looked when they acquired Wallman last year, and then a healthy Ekholm. Totally different. I don't know what's going on back there, but they're a mess. And the difference this year with Edmonton versus the past couple of years is their underlying stink. They, under the hood last year and the year before, it's like they were still pretty dominant. Even the year they fired Woodcroft. This year, it's not really the same. They're not getting any saves, but they're not creating a lot of offense. They're giving up chances. They're a mess. And I don't know that a trade changes it. I don't know what's going to change it. Something's got to get settled down there. A couple of saves would be nice. But there's more issues there than even just Skinner and the goaltending. Like, the team isn't playing well. So I don't know how that gets fixed, but like I just don't subscribe to if they've got Perry and Kane that all of a sudden I just don't. I think it has more to do with, like I said, I think Paul Coffey being gone is a bigger issue than that. So yeah, I don't believe in the Kraken. The Canucks stink. Sharks, again, really exciting, really fun. Not there yet.
Let's just talk about that though. Like Celebrini, like is just scares me for the future.
Yeah, really?
Like going against Leo Carlson and Celebrini for the next 10 years is not going to be fun.
No, not at all. And real quick, like whatever window USA had to catch Canada is gone. Like I know shifting gears, but like
ship them across the border.
This year should be interesting. You don't think so? You don't buy it?
No. I mean, they might not bring Bedard and or Celebrini or Schaefer, I might add. Like,
which would be travesties.
They're bringing Wilson and Bennett. You know that's happening.
Right. So that might give the U.S. a chance. But, like, that's ridiculous what Bedard, Celebrini, and Schaefer are doing. Like, when I look at that, and you look at the top of the goals, the points leaders, and it's McKinnon, Bedard, Celebrini, McDavid, I'm like, well, this sucks. The U.S. was up and coming. They were almost there, and now, Matthew.
No, I still think. I mean, I don't know if you listen to the episode of the PDO cast. I don't mean to get too divergent on this, but they think, and I think it's the same thing. Who's willing to put the young players in?
Yeah.
Who's willing to give them a shot? Because Cole Caulfield is an elite goal scorer. And he was left off the list. Tage Thompson was left off the list last year.
Totally.
Then we're going to get Quinn Hughes back. Is the U.S. going to be able to do that? Because where the U.S. still thrives is Canada's goaltending is straight abysmal. So compared to the U.S., and I think the U.S. has probably a stronger all-around D-core from top to bottom, not at the top tippy top with Makar and everything, but the depth, because as much as we say depth, the whole Olympic roster is first liners. So you need depth, and you need to have the third line guys play solid minutes. If Canada has the balls to bring Logan Thompson and Darcy Kemper and leave Bennington off this roster, which they won't, that could be something different. But it sucks that the top three best players underneath 22 are all from Canada. But I think there's some U.S. guys. You got Logan Cooley. I mean, he's growing. He's moving up.
Ryan Leonard,
Cole Caulfield, Ryan Leonard.
For the U.S. Don't get me wrong. I think they're right there in that top tier. But it's
elite difference makers. Yeah.
There's just a different level. But anyways, I don't know. I think the Kings. So they sit in third right now in the Pacific. I kind of I think they're right there in that. I think they in that 2-3 spot. I don't know. I think the division is, it's kind of crazy. As bad as Vancouver is, they're 5 points separates them in first place, and they're in seventh. So it's not a big jump. I guess it is, and more than I think about it, but and it could be 7 points after tonight. So I think. The team that's interesting to me is Seattle. I don't know what they are. I don't know what Seattle is, yet they're sitting here in fourth. They're a point behind LA and Vegas. I don't know. I'm not a big believer in them, but could they be a surprise team that goes and makes an acquisition at the deadline that's okay, well, we got to pay attention to them now. I don't know.
they're kind of a forgettable team. I almost forget they're even in the Pacific.
What if they go get a Jordan Kyrou? I don't know.
Yeah.
And they add a player like that to their roster.
They get a Tage Thompson, and it's him and I forgot their other center. Yes, Beniers.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. They're hanging around. They're not. They're still here after 19. They've played 19 games. So, I mean, again, it's kind of funny. I somebody tweeted it the other day, and I don't remember who it was. And it was an NHL writer, and I couldn't agree more. He wanted to just fire the 500 into the sun because the Kraken are 9-10. Okay, the Kings are 10-10. These teams are, but they're able to. Even Vegas is 9-10.
Dude, there's been so many overtime games this year.
Crazy.
So many. Did you see the Blues Maple Leafs broadcast on TSN last night? They shared a stat where I forget, I think it was 28.6%, I could be wrong, of the games have gone to overtime this year. Of all the games have gone to overtime, which is the highest number in the last 10 years. And I was when I saw that, I was oh, that makes a ton of sense because it feels like every hockey game I watch goes to overtime. At least it seems like with every Kings game has gone to overtime. So yeah, you're there's so many loser points going out right now, and I think that's kind of muddling up all that middle.
For sure. Well, one thing to make Kings fans in the chat happy: the Calgary Flames have more regulation wins than the Edmonton Oilers.
That's
crazy.
We say that we did this. A lot of Kings fans say, "Hey, we did this rebuild bad." But if you remember last year, Calgary, if they didn't make the playoffs, they would have gotten that Florida pick or something like that, and they just got enough points or whatever where they got the lower pick in that draft this year, and now they're horrible. Like it's just like false hope for that. Do you think anybody? I don't really want to get too much into trade talk, but do you think anybody will be able to? Do you think they'll be able to ever trade Huberdeau?
Yeah, Huberdeau would be a viable piece even at his contract. To be honest with you, with how the way his salary cap's looking, you look at some of these teams like Joe mentioned, like the Kraken or even the Ducks that have just cap space to spend. I mean, the Ducks have like $20 million this year to spend. I know they have some contracts to divvy out with Carlson coming up and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if Huberdeau will be able to get traded. As far as that's asking a lot to take on his entire contract, but even at 20% of a cap hit or retention, there's going to be teams that would love to have a player like Jonathan Huberdeau. Because I mean, as much as I like to rile on him and then the way he's been playing, which has been obviously really poor in Calgary. I mean, he was a 100-point producer, and there was a lot of talk of him being a Hart Trophy candidate before he got traded. So I mean, I think there's still a player there. I don't know if it's necessarily at that cap hit, but there's definitely still a player there.
He had, almost the 28 goals last year, 62 points. Like, that's not nothing, and even if it didn't live up to the 10 plus, I mean, he's rebounded a bit his game. Now, granted, he's going to get to a point where, he is 32 now. So he rebounded a bit the last year or so. Like, how much more can he stay there before he gets into that mid 30s and he starts to go back down? So, Oh, that's an interesting comment in the chat from John JM22. Kempe is going to be Huberdeau in a couple of years. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, but I didn't think Huberdeau was going to be Huberdeau when Huberdeau turned into Huberdeau either. So I don't know.
I'm surprised you got that out with the stutter in there. Well, that's a lot of dough. Well, that'll do it for us for Coast to Coast. We're going to go back into our Kings talk here. I think going into the future, and we have 20 games under the belt, like who is this team? And we've had a hard time in the off season describing who this team is. In the beginning of the season, are they bottom feeders? Are they middle of the pack? Are they mid? Hey, we had a really good power play. Now we have a horrible power play. Their penalty kill was garbage. Now it's middle of the pack. Like, they're just all over the place, and nothing really seems to have kind of poked its head out. But around the 20 games, maybe there's some underlying tones. Joe, I guess I'll start with you. What are maybe some underlying things that you think have been consistent or have kind of presented themselves at the 20-game mark?
I'm going to say this, and I know this will probably trigger a lot of people. Like, the fact that Jim Hiller has been able to turn – he's got two of the worst defensemen in the NHL on his team, and he's got one. He's settled this ship to be one of the best defensive teams in the league yet again. So you have to give credit where it's due to Jim Hiller and being able to have the structure that he has in place to continue to be such a stingy defensive team, despite, again, two objectively not very good defensemen. And that's putting it nicely. So I have to give him credit there. That's the biggest sticking point, is this team has regained, and I was skeptical of whether or not they could do this, but it appears that they have certainly regained their stingy defensive structure. And it just, they can just plug in anybody into this system on the blue line and it can work. But this team is, they're mid, is the word you use, Randon. I mean, the one thing that they've been is a pretty dominant expected goals team at 5-on-5 in recent years, last bunch of years, really. They're middle of the pack in expected goal share. Their Corsi has climbed up a bit, so they're getting back into that shot volume standpoint, but they're still outside the top 5 in that. Again, this has been a team that's been like top 2 or 3 in shot share and shot quality in Corsi and expected goals. And now they're outside the top 5 in shot share, and there are like 13, 14 in expected goal share. I just think the team is what we've been talking about. Like they're just an average team. Like they are built. Their floor is so high. They're built for the regular season. They are built to really not fall into long, lengthy losing streaks because they just don't give up enough to like lose 6 games in a row. I mean, unless it's the most unluckiest losing streak you're going to get, they're able to grab points.
January of last season.
Yeah. Which was, where was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago. Yeah.
2 years ago. But I think that was, there was a lot of unluck in that or bad luck in that, but like they have good goaltending in Kemper. They don't give up enough. They're able to snag loser points. If they don't win a game, a lot of times they're losing it in overtime. So they're just able to kind of trudge their way along the regular season and be a team that falls, if it breaks right, they're second and they're hosting, or they're in third or wild card playoff. But like, they're just too good and too structured in the regular season that, again, this is like we talked about. It's like this is the Minnesota Wild from like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, where they're not good enough, but they're just not nearly bad enough either. They're going to be a playoff team. They may not be much of a threat in playoffs, and we'll see what the deadline looks like. But talking about the here and now, there's nothing exciting about this team. There's nothing to get excited about. I mean, if you want to get excited about the defense and the goaltending and they're not giving up goals, you're free to get excited about that. But that's kind of been the Kings for the last bunch of years. And I don't know if we knew this, Brandon, it hasn't worked. So obviously I'm still skeptical long-term with this team, but I've seen they look like a team that's going to get into playoffs. We're hit the 20 game mark. So like is there a more mid team than the Kings?
I can't think of one. I mean, who would be like their Eastern Conference equivalent? Like,
it's not even the Islanders anymore because they're freaking exciting. Schaefer's tearing apart the league. Barzal's is healthy. Like, they're actually bordering on the fringe of excitement. The Islanders, which is,
I can't believe that defenseman is carrying that poor excuse for a team to a playoff spot.
No,
like,
you know what it is?
Rangers, right?
Probably Ottawa. Ottawa plays it like that game that LA Ottawa played. They should burn the tape. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable hockey in the NHL level to watch what we watch. Those people should get their money back that went to that game in Ottawa. Now, we often blame Jim Hiller and the Kings for that. Ottawa shares blame in this because they don't play a very exciting style of hockey, which is a little interesting because I do think they've got some pretty exciting players, frankly. But they play a shut it down style. Like those were two teams doing what they wanted to do, and it sucked. Like, that was just brutal. So I don't know. So probably right now these days it's Ottawa, but again, Ottawa just feels like they got more. Like, I like your Rangers call personally. There's not a whole lot that I get excited about with the Rangers. So
both teams with good goaltending, kind of
good
defense. I mean,
well, I'm going to flip this around to some positivity here.
I didn't think that was negative. Like, I could have said they were bad. I didn't say they were bad. I just said they're mid, not exciting, but they're a playoff team.
No, I think something that has risen to the top and that I think everybody has known is Brant Clark's a player. Brant Clark is a player.
Yeah.
And last year he was kind of sent down to the third line, benched, this, that. Like, I feel like he's a player now. And like, we wish he was used on power play 1. He's finally getting a little bit more minutes, which is nice. All the underlying numbers are very good, and he's a player. And so I think, is he lighting the world on fire like Schaefer? He's not really getting the opportunity to, because Doughty's still ahead of him. But I think he has shown glimpses that he has what it takes to be a number one defenseman on a roster. will he take that next elevation to all-star and elite status? I think he's kind of being hindered in that with it, where he's being placed and who he's playing with, but he's a player in and of itself.
Before Russ talks, I wanted to say, because you mentioned Brant Clark, and I tweeted this earlier, primary assist leaders at 5-on-5 in the National Hockey League, all players, not defensemen. Scheifele and Matthew Nyes. Mark Scheifele, Matthew Nyes, they have 8. A couple guys named William Nylander, Connor Bedard, former King great Jacob Chikrin, they have 7. Up next, tied with McKinnon, Makar, Morrissey, Larkin, Ovechkin, Malkin, Dobson, who all have 6, is Brant Clark with 6. Dude's producing. So, like, it's happening. I think it's real. I don't think it's going anywhere. And again, that's just at 5-on-5. He's not getting like significant PP time yet. Like, yeah, Randon, he's coming. He's here.
And the funny thing about that too, and is I wasn't even going to talk about his offensive game, because that's really something that we maybe expect to see. And it's obviously great that we're seeing it, right? Like, you don't want that to ever dip, especially with the way that the Kings play. But it's been his defensive play has been so good. And especially like since the Kings play this man-on-man style in defensive zone, like you would think for a player like Clark, who's not necessarily known as like the greatest skater, like he's been so good as far as like sticking with his man and being physical with his man too, like knocking people off pucks and whatnot. So yeah, I love the shout for Brant Clark and his offensive capabilities, but I love that the defensive game's starting to pick up now too, because I hope that Jim Hiller, and I'm sure he's paying attention to that part of his game, because now that gives him a little bit more respect to think that, like, okay, maybe I can play Brant Clark in like these late game, high pressure situations where I don't always have to put out Edmondson, Ceci, Dumoulin. I can put Brant Clark in the game when we're holding a lead up 1 with 2 minutes left. Maybe he can go out and make a play as opposed to just getting the puck and icing it down the ice. So, like, that's what I love about Brant Clark's game, because I know the offensive game is always going to be there. And I was just hoping that the defensive game would maybe take that next step, and it certainly has. And I really hope the management has taken notice of that.
The comments today from at least Hiller, I don't know if Holland, but Hiller seemed to speak very highly of Clark's defensive play. And you're right, and we should talk about that. I guess the only reason why it's like, damn it, can we just have one guy that we talk about only the offense on this team just one time? Because he sticks out like a sore thumb on the Kings. Like the way he roams, the way he plays, where he goes on the ice in the offensive zone. There's times where he's receiving the breakout pass, like through the neutral zone. Like, they don't have anybody like that. And it's so different, and it's just nice. But you are right, and that is very fair, Russ, to call out how he has really taken to and improved defensively. And I it's anecdotal, but also there's a little bit of numbers to back it up. Like, to me, it seems like, and you've kind of alluded to this, that he's been more physical. And I tweeted out something before, like, he is – shocker, Johnny Utah notices that. Love it. Because last year he was at like, what was it, like 0.9? I forget. I tweeted this out maybe a week or so ago, or a couple of days ago, that I looked at last year. He had like 0.9 hits per 60 or 1.01 hits per 60, and it's up to almost 2 hits per 60. So he's averaging like a hit more per game. So he is a bit more physical too. So, he's grown into his game a bit, and it's awesome.
The hip checks are starting to come along too.
I see that. Yeah,
he's doing a couple of those. I like it.
Yeah.
And I think, it's funny how everybody was like, man, he needs to be paired with Joel Edmondson because he can't protect himself and he's a little weakling and all this kind of stuff like that. And he's scrumming it up with anybody who wants to scrum it up. He's throwing sticks at everybody. He's getting everybody's face. Like, I knew the kid had it in him the whole time, and it's glad to see that everybody who, by the way, he still is the same height that he was 2 years ago and the same weight, but now all of a sudden he can defend himself. I think it's just nice that he's kind of gotten that kind of respect. And I think the sky is the limit for that kid. I know it's been kind of a slow burn, and people wanted that Matt Schaefer type rise to him. But man, he's just a guy that now sign him up long term. Like 8-year deal right away. Let's. I've seen enough. Let's do it. He's the type of guy that you could, if you did get to land him to an 8-year deal, would be a hell of a steal throughout the entire contract. So like, I like it. I like it a lot. Russ, anything that's kind of risen to the top for you, or kind of shown itself that maybe this is who the Kings are?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of echo a lot of what Joe said at the beginning. I mean, you look at a lot of the expected goal share, they're 19th right now when they've always been a team that's been like top 5. So I almost look at that as a positive because I would expect that to get back to where it's been in the past. I'm not surprised that they're still a good defensive team. We saw this team play Andreas Englund for 82 games and be a top 5 defensive team. So, I mean, I didn't think there would be that much a fall off there. I mean, even with bringing in CC and Dumoulin. So there's no surprise to me there. It's just the offensive game just needs to step up. And that's where I go back to where we talked about with the forward core, where there was just too much of like Joe had said, like there's just too many guys that are in the wrong spots. When you have Armia, who's playing first line minutes, who's never really been that. You have Kuzmenko playing with Deneau, that just seems like oil and water together. It just didn't make sense. So it's like now that you have players that are healthy up front, with obviously Perry, you missed Perry for the early part of the season. Now he's back and he's been producing. You can get him with Turcotte and Armia. You have a really solid, legitimate top line now. I think if those 4 lines can start to mesh together and blend well together, I think the offensive game and production will start to come along. And I don't think there'll be any dip in the defensive side because, I mean, the forwards are always going to be in the style of system that this team plays. They're always going to be defense first, right? That's the identity. And it seems like they've really gotten to that. So I guess that's good because if like it's always going to be elevate the floor of this team. It's not necessarily going to elevate your ceiling, but you're going to win a lot of games in the regular season because of that if you focus on defense and really shutting teams down. And I think the Kings have been doing that. You just hope that the offensive side of it starts to pick up too.
Yeah, I mean the offense hasn't picked up. Like they had a stretch last year when they got Kuzmenko. They went on a bit of a heater toward the end of the year where they started to put pucks in the net. Beyond that, 20, 25 games or so, the team didn't score before that. The team didn't score the year before that. The team didn't score the year before that. They've gotten worse in terms of like defensemen and puck transportation. So, like, I don't know that we should expect it. I mean, we're going to hope because now putting Byfield, Kempe, and Fiala together, we're going to really hope that it works, and we're going to hope some of the other lines click. But, like, at the end of the day, you know, again, some of it's just moving deck chairs. So I don't know. Like, hopefully they can get to a point where they can at least start to control games more. Like you said, hopefully the expected goal share starts to creep up a little bit. So maybe at that point, just inevitably some things fall. But I don't know if what we're seeing to suggest that the offense will just start scoring goals. I don't know. I don't necessarily see that. But we'll see. We can certainly hope. But
Turcotte's been one of the best facilitators. Now we're putting him back with Perry. Armia has a good shot.
Yeah.
We're getting the best first line. You know, I think Trevor Moore getting away from Deneau and having that kind of, I think there's a lot of,
there's hope.
There's a lot of factors that could sway the offense in the right direction. And if they still do that and remain solid defensively, I think that you could have an uptick overall in expected goal share for the team.
And not only that, but like the power play's got to be better too, right?
100%.
Like that's a large part of scoring goals is finishing on the power play, you know. So that's got to get better.
And one thing too is I don't want to overlook like this injury with Doughty, because I mean, like maybe we're kind of just putting it in the back of our heads, thinking like, oh, we went through this last year and they just were fine. Doughty's been really good this year. His expected goal share and all of his underlying numbers have been excellent, if not like one of the best in the league. So he's been playing lights out. Dumoulin and Anderson. I think Dumoulin can kind of step into that role and be pretty solid. I mean, I'm not surprised they didn't want to split up Edmonds and Clark, because it just seems like that's just what they're happy with. And Moverara CC, we'll see what happens there. But I think that's going to be a bigger loss than maybe what we all expect it to be. I feel like that losing Doughty is going to kind of hurt a little bit. So hopefully they can kind of maintain a little bit without 8 here. I'm a little worried.
That pairing is like the antithesis of each other. The ultimate anchor in Moverara versus the potential sieve of Cody CC.
Yeah, I agree, Russ, because I like last year when Gavrikov moved up to the right side and he played really well. Like Anderson Gavrikov was such a force in terms of shutting down opponents. I don't expect Anderson and Dumoulin to be anywhere near what Anderson Gavrikov was.
Agree.
So that, and presumably that line's going to be, because again, they're still, and I do think Hiller should get some credit, although he always will say it's DJ Smith that runs the D. So give credit or what you hate to whoever. But, you know, I think you have to, like, they've done a good job, I think, of spotting Clark and making sure that he hasn't had to deal with the McDavids and the McKinnons, like in the top lines, right? Like the top matchups. I think that is good and smart. Like, again, we've talked about how, okay, we could still find him more minutes, and they kind of are. But I also think it's good that he doesn't. So if that Edmondson Clark pairing isn't going to see the top lines, well, you know, it sure as hell can't be Moverar and CC.
Mm-hmm.
And Anderson Dumoulin is just, it's just not going to be nearly as good. Like Mikey Anderson's been fine. Although I was looking at HockeyViz the other day, he's given up more slot chances than he has in years. But it's still early, so still some noise in there. He did have a handful of games with CC, so that probably played into it too. Because I agree, like Doughty's been good. So I am pretty skeptical. The early returns on that defensive pair way too soon in terms of minutes played. So we'll see. Like it's only played, they've only had 18 or so minutes together. So it's still early, but yeah, like we had questions about the decor with Doughty. You sure as hell have questions about the decor now. So we'll see.
That leads us into our next thing. There was a couple quotes from management today, and one of them, Ken Holland was asked about his thoughts on Cody CC and Brian Dumoulin through 20 games, and he says, "I'm happy." I mean, obviously, we don't expect the brass to just crap all over their signings there, but is it more of they're getting the type of guys that they wanted, and like that? Those are they're playing exactly how they thought they would play. These are the guys we wanted to bring in, and so it is a true "I'm happy." If we're looking at it here, when they're playing together, they are the worst pairing or line on the Kings, with an expected goal share of 35.8, and they are allowing twice as many goals as they are bringing in while they're on the ice. So, you know, the pairing together has not been great. I think Dumoulin has been good for the price. I just, you know, we're never going to get behind the Cody CC contract. It just is what it is. No need to beat a dead horse there. But
they've been outscored 9-1. What are we talking about here? Like that.
I think a lot of it though, like the first part of the season, they were at, I think it was 8-0 from the first part of the season. But the last 5 games,
if you go look at the last 10 games, it ain't much better. They're out. It's 4-1 in the last 10 games.
Yeah, it's nothing great. No,
I mean, you're right, Randy. We don't expect the GM to, and he shouldn't, nor should he, go out and like, but don't.
Hey, I made the wrong move here signing this guy. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we all
buy that. Don't.
We all expected Cody CC to be this player, right? I mean, he had to see this too. So what is he be? Is there anything he's surprised with what he's seen?
That's probably why he's happy.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I got the player I was looking for.
Yeah.
This is what he's been. Like, is anybody surprised that with Cody CC's numbers? I mean, I'm not. This is what I expected out of Cody CC. Maybe with Dumoulin, I was maybe expecting a little bit more, but probably that has to do with him playing with CC. So
right. That's the thing. Like, look at the last 10 games, right? Because they had a few games off there in the middle, and I don't know the exact timing of when they got back together, but last 10 games, they have a 38% expected goal share, and they're outscored 4-1. So even the plus minus people, they're getting outscored 4-1. So like, I don't know what people watch with this, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Yeah, and it's I don't know what to make of Dumoulin. I feel like I can't appropriately. I feel like any combo he's been is unfair. It's unfair to play him with CC, and it's also unfair to have him with Doughty and play against other teams' top guys, because I don't think he can handle that either. So he's kind of just lost in the shuffle here. So
I mean, we'd like to see him play with Clark, but then you move Edmondson down, and you have
you can't do that. Yeah, and you just
eternal dark hole that would be the third line.
I agree. I would like to see a Dumoulin Clark pairing, because I think that's where Dumoulin can probably flourish. But unfortunately, like, he's stuck with Cece, and the pair is one of the worst in the league. So like, I don't know. I mean, they can spin it however they want, and that's fine. Like, they're the team. They're not going to trash their own guys publicly. I can appreciate that, but that doesn't mean we need to buy it. That doesn't mean people should buy it. Like, we are not blind, whether you're watching it via the quote unquote eye test or whether you're looking at numbers. None of it's good. So let's just call a spade a spade. It's got to get better.
Speaking of not buying it, Holland was asked, are the LA Kings a legitimate Stanley Cup contender based on getting to the Western Conference Final? I don't know.
What does that mean?
So I guess it means you're one series away if you make it to the Western Conference Final, so you are a contender. I don't know.
So is that and I don't know.
Is that the goal to the Western Conference Final?
The question is, like, if you make it to the Western Conference Final.
The question should be, can this team beat the Oilers? That should be the question on everyone's mind. And I mean, those questions, when you ask the GM, like, what is he going to say? He's like, no.
Right.
Like, obviously he's going to say, yeah, I think so, or yeah. Like,
yeah. Well, the fact that he said why not is kind of like a tell. Like, not really. But
he's like, hey. I'm not sure. I was brought in, but I don't really know what's going on up here. I'm behind the steering wheel, but there's autopilot button right here, and I just keep pressing it.
Yeah.
I think we all think this team is middle of the road. I think there's a lot of untapped potential with this team as well. I do. I think we keep waiting for Byfield to take that next step, and maybe with Kempe and Fiala, he will. I think you look at Byfield got a lot of flack, and he's put on quite a run on this road trip to where he's right there, almost at the point per game type player. He's been feeding a lot of assists. And I think people just got to realize he's not going to be a guy that puts 40 goals in the net. And he doesn't have to be. Like, he doesn't have to be a 1C. Like, he can be a facilitator. I think where maybe there's some things that I wasn't projecting about his game this part of his career. He's an excellent penalty killer for a first liner. And he's getting better on the faceoffs. Just by the eye test, I don't know what his faceoff percentage is, but I think like there's a lot of things he's a threat on the PK for the retaliation goal, the shorthanded goal with his speed and everything like that. So that's something maybe I wasn't kind of expecting, but you don't take a guy second overall to be good on the PK. You take him to be an elite offensive threat, and he still needs to take that step.
I think he's been good. Like, I don't know. I think he's been good. I don't know. I haven't checked like what the latest that he's pacing for on a production standpoint, but I don't really have any issues with Byfield right now. Like, I don't view him as a goal scorer. So I know there's people that are like, why isn't he scoring goals? Well, like, I think if he scores 20 goals, I think he should be happy. And then I think like I said, I think the bold prediction I had is that he gets over 50 assists this year. I think he's tracking or pacing to get that. So yeah, that puts you around 70, 75 points. Like, he's playing really well defensively. You mentioned he's playing really well in the penalty kill. I think that's fine. Like, you're right, Randon. Like, I see where you're going though with that, and I don't disagree. Like, you want that true, because here's the thing that I look at too. Like, you want him to be like, everything flows through him. Like everything flowed through Kopitar for 20 years. 5-on-5, he's an excellent killer. The power play flowed through him. And right now, we're not seeing that with Byfield. Like he's not a power play threat right now. And I think that could take his game to another level if he could really be like a high-end power play producer, which he just hasn't been. Whether that's he's in the wrong spot. I did not like him on the first unit where he was and the way he was moving within where he was. So again, whether that's all him or kind of the coaching or scheme, I can't answer that question. I just know I didn't like it. So to that end, Randon, yeah, there probably is another level of production if you factor in power play stuff that could get better, and you hope that it does get better. But by and large, I've been pleased with Byfield.
So I pulled up just the base stats, and I think where fans like 23-24, he had 55 points, right? And so people are like, okay, well, he's just going to take that next step. Well, he took more responsibility the next year. Time on ice, 18 minutes, went up from 16, played a lot more defensively down the middle, a lot more responsibility there, and he had 54 points, so he went down. But if you look at it right now, he's pacing 70, which would be a 16-point increase or 15-point increase from his career high. I think that is positive. He's playing 19 minutes a night. He is abysmal on the faceoff dot. I thought he was a lot better than that, but he is 40% this year. That is horrible. And for a guy with a big frame, like you think he'd be able to be good at that. I don't know how much more there is to. It's got to be a nuanced talent, right?
Oh, it very much is. Oh yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Like there's timing, there's footwork, there's whether you're trying to win the draw on your forehand, or whether you're trying to win the draw on your backhand. Depending, some centers will hold their stick with both hands as if they're like regular, for lack of a better term. Other centers will their bottom hand they'll turn over, and you'll probably lose a little bit of speed doing that and quickness and trying to win the draw, but you're maybe a bit stronger there. So there's a lot of nuance. Some guys, there's a lot that goes into taking a draw. It's an art. And that's why guys like Jarrett Stoll are probably working with these guys all the time on draws, because it is very nuanced. And then you get into, are you on your backhand side, your forehand side, what zone are you in? Are you running a face-off play? There's so much that but you're right. Like you would hope that at the minimum he's got the size. So like you always say, you can't teach size. So you got the one thing that you would think would help him, but sometimes not necessarily. Like, sometimes some guys are able to get a little bit lower, get a little bit of leverage, and maybe being a bigger guy, he's not able to. I mean, there is a lot that does go into it.
You know what I didn't realize? He was voted for 37th place for the Selke vote last year. I know 37th is quite a far ways down there, but I didn't even know he got a nomination.
We get like 1/5 place vote.
Yeah. Russ, what's been your opinion on Byfield? I know you've been asking the most of him. That was one of your bold predictions and over the last couple of years. Is this kind of like where you figure like he would be this year? Like how do you kind of view his performance?
I've actually been really happy with Byfield. I mean, he's leading all the forwards in ice time at like I think 1950 a night, 17 points in 20 games. This is obviously a team that doesn't prioritize offense. So why is everyone concerned about his offensive production? I mean, we talk about having 40 goal scorers. There's been one 40 goal scorer in like 30 years. So I mean, how many point per game seasons does Andre Kopitar have? And we consider him the greatest Kings player of all time. So I'm not overly concerned with Quinton Byfield's offensive production, right? I mean, as long as he's been able to play against top line players on the other team, which certainly seems like he's been able to do so. He had a couple defensive lapses in the last game against Washington, so hopefully that clears up a little bit. But besides that, I think overall he's been one of the Kings' better players, if not the best player on the team. I can't really be asking any more of Quinton Byfield. And it just sucks because people are always going to compare him to Stützle.
Yeah.
Those are two totally different players that play two totally different styles. I mean, Byfield is asked to play a 200-foot game and focus on defense and all this penalty killing. Like you talked about, like his penalty kill has been great. How many penalties does Tim Stützle kill? Probably none. How many other young players at Byfield's age are playing probably top penalty kill minutes? I'm guessing not that many. So for him to be playing in all areas of the ice at this young of an age, and now to be what seems like the Kings' #1 centerman, averaging what, like you said, get close to 70 points already on the season. Great. Sign me up. If you can do that every year, Kings have a #1 center now next year and going forward. Cool.
Will he be the #1 center come playoffs?
Yeah.
Will he have the most center minutes in playoffs?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we've gotten to that point. I mean, I think he is now. Especially now with the new line with Kempe there. Because I think you could always say, well, Kopitar's got Kempe, and Kempe's the best winger, so But now with Kempe, that now yes. Now we'll see what happens here, but yeah, I don't know. I think I don't have an issue with it. I see it. I see it in the chat. He's got 1 goal at 5-on-5, and like I get it. You want more than 1 goal at 5-on-5. I acknowledge that, but I also don't think the bulk of his production is going to come from goals. And
I mean, he's pretty close to what he was on pace for last year, over 20 goals. I mean, he should be at 5 right now. He's at 4. Like, I mean, he's pacing the same as he was. Like, if he's a 20 to 25 goal scorer and 50 to 60 assists per year, is that something you're okay with?
Yeah. Yep. Like, that's what I expect. I mean,
because now you're putting him with the 2 best shooters on the team in Fiala and Kempe.
Yeah, that's what I expect. I mean, I think that's now again, I totally get it. Like, you hope the ceiling maybe is more than that, right? But like Russ said, I mean, you have to give the Kings factor here. Like, I do think that matters. So I don't know. I think that matters. And yeah, it's different. Like, him and Stutz are different players. Like, I love watching Tim Stutz play. He can take shifts over, and he's a legitimate goal scoring threat every single time he touches the puck. He's a touch the puck and people get out of their seats because he can make something magical happen. They're just different players. But like, they're always going to be linked together. And I think Kings fans got like a serious hard on for Stützle and the whole conversation, and it really triggers them. But I mean, it's okay that Stützle's great. Like, that's okay.
No, it's not.
I mean, we should all. I mean, we Oilers or Senators and Kings fans should just be pointing and laughing at the Rangers right now. Is what we really should be doing. And what Lafreniere's not been able to do.
Right.
I was so upset when that lottery ball didn't go our way.
Dude, so was I. I really wanted Lafreniere, and it seems like we dodged a bullet a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I think that, like, I don't think you have to compare them. I know they will get compared. They're different players. They're on different teams and whatever, in different situations. They're asked to do different things. I'm fine with Byfield. Like I said, this is the type of production that I would kind of expect coming into this season. And yeah, as he grows, do I hope that he can become a point a game player? Yeah, but like, I'm not going to expect him to go from 50 to 80, 85 or whatever. I was hoping it's going to be a little bit more incremental. We'll see.
I think it's so. I think it'll be interesting. I'm kind of excited for this line because, it really just kind of peers into the future a little bit, and maybe they all elevate the game. Like, we've been clamoring to let Kev be Kev since we signed him. Now he's finally with 2 legit offensive players that, potentially have, Kempe's been playing with him on the power play, so they should have kind of a mind meld there. And then you have a legit Byfield's second on the team in assists. You have 2 guys that can really feed Fiala. Fiala can be a scorer and a facilitator. And now Kempe doesn't have to put on his brakes for Papa Kopitar to cross the blue line. Like, he can run with the best of them. Like, I'm excited to see this line burn. So,
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's been 20 games, maybe a little too early to crown an MVP of the Kings, but we're going to do it. We're going to say who's our MVP for the first 20 games. I'm gonna let Russ start us off on this one. who is the Kings MVP in the first 20 games?
Yeah, for my book, we've talked about a lot of the stats and how they haven't been able to score. And even though the defensive metrics have been pretty good, this player seems to be the same consistent player that we saw last year. And it seems like he's playing the same level of hockey that we saw last year, and if not some. And that's Darcy Kemper. I mean, you look at some of the metrics, goals saved above expected. He's 4th in the National Hockey League. Goals saved above expected per 60 among all goaltenders that have played 10 games. He's 6th. So there's been games throughout this season that the Kings had no business being in, and they've gotten points on the back of Darcy Kemper. I think his record's 7-4-2, and it probably would be more if there was some offensive production behind him too. So yeah, I think Darcy Kemper has been playing extremely well, and he is my pick for the MVP so far. The quarter mark.
I think that's a good choice. I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go with Corey Perry. I think what he's been able to do for a team that can't score and doesn't produce, he's just jumped in and done that, just that, has produced. And I think it's worth noting that now, I guess this isn't that shocking because the Kings play so many like kind of lower scoring and close games, but so much of the damage that Corey Perry has done has come with the score within a goal. So whether the Kings are up 1, down 1, or the game's tied, 10 of Corey Perry's points have come in that setting, and that's 4th on the team. But also when you consider he's played 6 less games than the 3 ahead of him, Fiala, Byfield, and Kempe, the fact that he's in double-digit points in 168 minutes in 14 games, and again, his goals are like all big. They're either tying the game or putting them up by 2 or giving them the lead. He's been crucial to this team, and you wonder, like, he's scored some big goals. Like, where would they be without some of Corey Perry's offense right now? So for me, it's Corey Perry.
It's pretty easy to have all your points be within 1 goal when you only score 2 goals a game.
Very good.
I mean, this might seem like a homer pick, but
we know where this is going.
No, I'm going Adrian Kempe.
Okay.
1, he's within the 20-game mark. Got his big bag of money, well deserved. 2, he's had, I think, 3 game-winning goals this year. So 2 of them in overtime in that crucial trip.
Yeah,
he's leading the team in points, being the number 1 asset on the team, and now finally he's going to get with Byfield and Fiala. I think, 2 of those, like, that's 2 overtime winners. Snipes, and he's the king of sellies, so he's always given us a new gift or anything there. So I think getting a bag, he's made some big-time goals. He is the best player on the team, and he's leading the team in points through the first 20. I think Adrian Kempe is the MVP of the season so far.
Thought for sure you were going to say Clark.
I was going to.
But good, Kempe is a good shout too. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of, is it? I shouldn't say that. Maybe it's not, but it feels like quietly that he's like kind of racking up points. For maybe it's just because the team doesn't score at all, so he just gets totally kind of like unnoticed.
It's just weird because it's like he's at the point on the power play, and we all hate it.
Hate it.
Just shoots like these, stuff at the point, and like he's not clapping these one-timers from the dot anymore. And then there's been such a heavy rotation on that first line with Kopitar and the other winger. It's like he's had no cohesiveness there. Like, I'd be interested to see how many points he's scored in overtime have been. Is it just the 2 goals maybe? But I don't know. Like, it just seems like he's found a way to persevere, and he's still one of the best defensive forwards on the team. He just backed it up. I think he kind of has like this like cocky assassin style mantra to him, where like he's just been the best player on the team. He knows he can score. He throws down these sellies. And, I don't know. He kind of just has this nice little mantra or moxie about him that I think the team needs, and it's just interesting to watch.
I mean, it's really hard for wingers to win the Selkie, but I mean, if there was a winger that would win the Selkie, I would feel like it'd have to be Kempe, right? I mean, how many forwards are playing defense in certain situations?
Right, legit defense. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, he's only on pace for what, 25 goals right now. A lot of his damage is done because, from a assist standpoint. But again, I do think getting on a line with Byfield and Fiala could really see his goals tick up a bit. I don't know what he had in points on the year he scored 40, but like, he's on pace for 77 right now. Like, he's putting together quite a season. So
he had 67 points when he scored 40, and then last year he had 75 and then 73.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, he's going to push 80 points again. So, yeah.
Have the Kings ever had a full line that all scored over 80 points?
Probably in the 90s.
That's 93.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guy named
legitimate,
great
probably,
one. Yeah. I mean, for a team that's been starved for offensive attention, if they had 3 players score over 80 points, that'd be pretty sweet.
Tomorrow's gonna be fun, man. Like, I really hope this works out, because this is something we've been asking for so long, and now it seems like we're really getting our first legitimate look at it.
Yeah,
I know there's been like spot minutes for these 3, but like, for them to start out like throughout, hopefully it sticks the entire game. So I hope it works out. And the first shift's gonna be kind of telling. I know Hiller loves to tinker right away, and I just hope he takes the reins off a little bit and kind of lets his horses go.
Let's see. Yeah. They've played a little bit this year. Let me see if I can find what they're.
It's always when they're down, right? It's always when they need a goal, they put them together and hope for the best. Like, and sometimes by that point, it's just it's a bit too late.
Yeah. So, not to be a Debbie Downer, but in only 34 minutes this year with them playing together, 37% expected goal share.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing, though. Like, kind of falling in line with what Joe said, I don't really put a lot of stock into that, because it's always in-game stuff that, like, there's situations where it's just like they're not playing well overall, so they're just kind of hunting for goals or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Like, that's why I think this will be telling, because now they get like a
full 60.
They get into a game where, like, okay, we know we're playing together. Let's see where things go.
Yeah. I mean, one last thing here, like, the power play's got to get better. Mm-hmm. And like the
Can we kill the 5 forwards, please? Can we just kill it?
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with Kuzmenko there. I'm fine.
No, let's put my boy Brant Clark at the point, because the his silky little floaters that he throws in there is going to be right for Perry to get those cleanup goals, and I'm fine with it.
It's not the 5 forwards that I necessarily dislike. It's just the way they're running it. Like, mm-hmm. I can't do the Kempe shot. There's just, his shot selections have been horrible, I think.
What did you say in the chat yesterday when it was like, they were talking about, I think Jim Fox mentioned it, like, right off the face-off, they got it to Kempe and he shot it?
Oh. Well, yeah, let me find it. And again, I'm a Jim Fox fan, but, like, the power play has been struggling, and a lot of the reason they're struggling is just taking these aimless shots from the point, and they're doing it because Perry is just standing there. So they're like, well, we got to do it. He's standing there. And, so Kempe did it again. And he's like, and Jim was like, had bodies in front, a simple approach. That's what you do when you struggle. And it's like, no, that is why they're struggling, is because they're just too simple, and they're just throwing pucks at the net. They don't utilize the bumper ever.
No.
I don't get it.
Kopitar's been struggling 5-on-5. How do you think he's been looking in the power play?
I'm going to sound like a broken record, because I feel like I said this many times in the past. The King, like, so Kopitar gets the puck on the left flank. Where's he going with it? Because he's got no bumper option, because Byfield isn't doing a good job there. And again, I don't know if I blame him or if I'm blaming the coaches, because they're telling him to go into certain places. Like, Byfield's not making himself an option in the bumper. They no longer have the Kuzmenko down low guy. It's Perry, and they want Perry glued to the goalie. So he can't go cross seam to Fiala. Where's he going? He's got to go up to Kempe. So, like, they have got to do a better job of making more passing options available. Because right now, it's Kopitar to Kempe, basically. And
do you think Kempe would be a better bumper?
Say
they put Brant Clark in, would Kempe be a better bumper?
The problem, I think Kempe's a flank guy. Like, I think the problem is, like, they have Fiala there. So do you really want to move Fiala? Because he does a really nice job on that right flank. But I also think, like, Kempe could do a really nice job on that right flank, and he has before. But that's where it gets tricky. It's like, so what do you do with Fiala at that point? You know, because you want him to kind of have some freedom. You don't want him stuck in the bumper. You don't want him stuck at the point. So it is, I acknowledge, like, it's kind of tough to fit these guys into certain roles. Kempe, I don't think is an issue up top, except for the shot selections he makes are an issue for me. But again, I think it all comes back to they have very poor bumper play. Like, you watch the effective teams, there's a lot of, like, just one touches with the bumper, and all it does is it just pulls the killer. Like, if Kopitar gets the puck and he moves it to Byfield in the bumper, well, for a split second, that penalty killer has to now they've got to go to the bumper. They got to go to the man with the puck. So wherever that killer, so now Byfield, he might be able to just one touch it back to Kopitar, but he's opened up a second of time and space. Or he can touch it to Kempe, depending on the kill and the killing situation. He's opened up a second of space. So now when you open up that second of space, maybe it's a bump to Kopitar, and now that cross seam pass to Fiala opens up for a more dangerous threat on a one-timer there. Rather than it's non-existent in the slot, allows the killers to spread out a bit more, and just, you know, the Kings are just operating up and around the perimeter. So I really think there's no plays down low like we saw with Kuzmenko last year. There's very little of that right now because, again, I think they want Perry glued to the net. And as long as Perry's glued to the net, you're going to see shots from the point, because I think that's their strategy. And I just totally disagree with that.
One of the big parts of the power play, though, is winning the faceoff. And if you take Kopitar off the first line, who's taking faceoffs?
That's why I don't take Kopitar off. I'm
just saying for people asking for it.
I mean,
because we just mentioned Byfield's only 40%, and there's no other centers on that line. So,
and this is blasphemous, and I get it, but, like, if I'm taking somebody off to put Clark on, I think it's Byfield. Just because I don't know who else you take off. Like, I'm not taking Fiala off. Kopitar, I still think, is a really good passer and good, calm, patience, vision, face-offs. You know, Kuzmenko's the right shot.
Who'd be an underrated down low guy would be Clark, because he could facilitate.
And we've seen him. Like, it's such a how different of a look is the second power play, because the second Clark touches it, he's moving. Like, he's shifting the hips. He's moving, he's making a pass, and then he's following his pass. He's going down. Totally different, where the first power play is just stationary.
I wonder if they should put Perry back on the second unit if you have Clark and Perry together. I mean, if Clark's going to throw those floaters like Randon mentioned that are great for tipping, then Perry, they just get the 5 forward unit back to what it was last year when it was good. That's you mentioned having Clark down low. That's what Kuzmenko was doing. Kuzmenko was doing all the stuff that you want to see Clark doing down low. We haven't seen that at all.
And they had Kuzmenko operating as that. He'd be the option, but you know what? He was really tricky in and around the crease too. Mm-hmm. And he could, if he had an opportunity to take the puck to the net, he would. And Byfield was allowed more freedom in that bumper area, and that became a little bit more utilized. We saw some of those triangle plays, the tick, 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 and he gets set up for a one-timer. We saw some of that because that's more effective. Like, I'm sorry, but the guy standing in front of the net with his heels on the crease, that's like, it's not 1997 anymore. Like, teams don't really do that. I mean, it's the puck movement, it's the quick passing, it's the bumper utilization. That's the stuff that scores goals. And, there's a time and place for, there's a time where if Kuzmenko has to slide to the front of the net and you can get a shot and he can get a tip, great. But for that to be the strategy, boy, I just don't think that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. And then you have at times where Perry and Byfield are pretty much holding hands.
Right, exactly. There's times where Byfield is like a stick length away from Corey Perry. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, move up, go to the high slot, make yourself an option, make yourself available. But again, I just think they don't want. There's no spot for that because there's no more guy down low to even create the one touch pass, the triangle play, Russ, because Perry's in front of the net. There's nobody, it's like they've totally taken away the option because it's like I think I said it last week, like they're almost like a victim of their own success because Perry just came in and just started scoring all these goals and they're like, well, we just got to feed him. It's like, well, no, you don't have to do it that way.
Well, we need to feed me more Byfield, Kevin Fiala, and Adrian Kempe. And always more Clark. Healthy Clark diet is a good Kings fan. I appreciate you guys getting the chat. Hit that like button on the way out. All of our articles are coming out right now at hockeyroyalty.com. If you want more Reign coverage, please follow Kyle Garcia and all his articles coming out there about the Reign, about prospects. And on Twitter, he's at Kyle or Kopitar4HOF. Guys, quarter way through the season, moving on up to the east side, as they say. I'm excited for this new line. I'm excited for tomorrow. And, maybe this is the battle of the next decade, Celebrini versus Byfield. We're getting a little early taste on how that might look. So appreciate it, as always. And on this podcast, go Kings, go.